Hello everyone, my name is Sunita and today we are going to start with lesson number 15 and the title is Strategic Implementation and Control. And the topic for this chapter are issues of strategic implementation, various organization structure, leadership and its form, strategic change and control, and the topic of balanced scorecard. Now let us start. We'll first understand the concept of strategy implementation. See, implementation is any process with the help of which you put into practice your strategy. So it is an action stage because strategies are only the means to achieve your goals. And these means or these plans are actually to be put into practice if you want to achieve some results. These strategies are to be activated through implementation. Both the process of strategy implementation and formulation are also interconnected in our real life too. We plan, but if we do not implement, we are not going to get any results. That is what they are saying. A good strategy without effective implementation is futile and it cannot help organization to achieve success. We also need to understand that strategy formulation is an intellectual process wherein you use your mind. We try to forecast our future, we collect various data, we analyze them, and we plan for our future. That's why it is an intellectual process. Whereas strategy implementation is an operational process. In order to implement any plans on policies, you need to prepare the organization structure, you need to allocate the task among different people, and that way you have to ensure that you are achieving best integration of all your resources, including your people, that is your human resources, various structure, various resources that you own. And this will then help you achieve your objectives. Strategy implementation is a process which requires you to arrange variety of the resources that you require to implement your plans. You need to organize these resources in a systematic way, ensuring that these resources are only used in a right direction and there is no wastage. You need to direct the resources within and outside the organization. So strategy implementation, as we already told you, is an action stage. Strategy is only a promise, whereas implementation is something that turns the promise into performance. Please remember this line. Strategy is a promise, whereas implementation turns this promise into performance. So the task of strategy implementation requires that there is proper structure, there is proper administration mechanism which is compatible with your strategy. So if everything goes in line with your strategy, in direction of your strategy, you'll definitely be able to achieve your objectives very smoothly. So strategy implementation is an important task which is done by the managers who have prepared the strategy. And to achieve or to implement the strategy properly, you need to create two types of fit. Please remember the two type of fit, or fit can also be called as balance. So there should be a balance between your strategy that is framed by the top level management, the overall strategy, and the functional policies, the plans and policies prepared by different departments. So there should be proper coordination and balance between these two. Secondly, there should be a proper balance or fit between your strategy and the organization structure, processes, and systems. So everything should be in line with your strategy. So they are saying that in the process of strategy formulation, we first of all come up with various alternative strategy and we choose the best. And this is important. These steps are important for formulation of the strategy. Whereas strategy implementation is a totally different step, which is also important in the process of strategic management. Again, they are saying the same thing, that a good strategy without proper implementation cannot help the organization to achieve success. So implementation is an important step and it involves number of decisions. In order to implement also, the managers have to take number of decisions because there are lots of choices. There are lots of methods with which you can implement a particular plan. So you have to choose the best way in order to implement the plan. It also requires commitment from everyone in the organization, from each and every unit, section, and department. So even if the strategy is prepared by the top level management, implementation requires cooperation and support of each and every unit or department, even person of the organization. So we should remember that there are two interrelated tasks which are involved in the process of strategy implementation, and these two tasks are differentiation and integration. Just remember these words. The two interrelated tasks of strategy implementation are differentiation and integration. Now, there is a difference between the two steps of strategic management, the strategy formulation and implementation. So what are the points of difference? Strategy formulation, as we already discussed, is an intellectual process, and strategy implementation is an operational process. So this is the first step. Now, what kind of skills are needed for strategy formulation and implementation? So strategy formulation requires good conceptual, integrative, and analytical skills. So all these skills are related to your mind. Conceptual skills talks about how easily you can understand complex concepts. Integrative skills talks about how do you integrate vast amount of data that comes in your way when you are making any strategy. And analytical skills talks about how you properly analyze the data and find out the important solutions that can help you to achieve your goals. But strategy implementation requires completely different set of skills, because implementation is done through people. That's why implementation requires the skills relating to motivating your staff and managing your staff so that they are properly implementing the task. Strategy formulation occurs mostly at the corporate level. So the corporate level or the topmost level prepares the strategy for the entire organization, whereas strategy implementation is a process which is required at all hierarchy levels. So each and every level, each and every person, every department, every unit is responsible for implementation of plans. So strategy implementation and strategy formulation, we need to understand that they are not competing against each other. They are not trying to supplant each other, but both these steps are important. They actually are supplementing. They both are actually contemporary to each other. They cannot work without each other. So the relation between strategy formulation and implementation can be understood by their interdependence. Both these steps are interrelated. Both these steps impact each other. They are not mutually exclusive. Now, there are two types of linkages between strategy formulation and implementation. It is forward linkage and backward linkage. Now, what is forward linkage and backward linkage? See, forward linkage talks about the impact of formulation on implementation. So if we talk about how your strategy formulation impact your strategy implementation, we are talking about forward linkage. And if we talk about how your implementation impacts your strategy formulation, then we are talking about backward linkage. Now we'll properly understand these two topics. Forward linkage is concerned about, as I already told you, the influence of strategy formulation on your strategy implementation. That means the way you formulate your strategy, whatever strategy you make, impacts how you will implement it. So if you have prepared the strategy of achieving cost leadership, if you want to be a cost leader in the industry, you need to implement in a way, you need to do your task in a way that results into saving in each and every activity. You need to negotiate with your suppliers so that they provide you raw material at the least cost. You have to negotiate with your workers so that they they work hard, and maybe they are and they will not take bonus, that kind of things. You need to impress your workers so that they are not doing any kind of wastage. So the way you formulate your strategy, implement the way you would implement it. What kind of arrangements would you make for implementing? So that's what it talks about your forward linkage. So strategy formulation as a forward linkage with implementation. So the total implementation activities are geared according to the strategy chosen. All the implementation activity you do are decided according to your strategy. Your strategy decides what kind of organizational process you need, systems you need, structures you need, people you need. That all is dependent upon your strategy. So that's why we say that your implementation is dependent on your formulation. The way you formulate decides the way you would implement, what kind of resources you will need. Everything is determined on the basis of your formulated strategy. In the same way, your implementation also impacts your formulation. So strategy formulation is affected by your implementation. This happens because most of times organization choose only that strategy which can be implemented with their existing structures. So organization mostly see what are their existing resources, what is their existing structure, what kind of people they have in the organization, what are their skills, what are the existing systems. So on the basis of what could be implemented with the existing structure, they prepare their strategy. So they select only that strategy which is compatible with the existing implementation structure. So that way, the choice of your strategy is dependent upon what could be implemented with your present resources. So your implementation decides, your implementation skills decide what strategy you would choose. So that's what they are talking about. So okay, so organization tends to adopt those strategy which can be implemented with the help of existing structures of resources joined with some additional efforts. So you can go either way. There are some organization who first decides formulation and make necessary arrangements to implement. So they are actually giving more importance to forward linkage. And there are other organization who first decide what could be implemented with the existing resources, and then on the basis of implementation requirement, they prepare the strategy. So they are giving more importance to backward linkage. So this can vary from company to company. Now, we should also understand that these two steps are interconnected. The formulation and implementation of the strategy are actually interrelated, and managers could not say that they are only responsible for implementation or they are only responsible for formulation. Every manager is responsible for both the tasks. They are responsible for both the tasks, and managers should understand that these two steps are actually different. But why implementation is important for strategy formulation too? See, when you implement any strategy, you get a feedback about how the strategy is implemented. That might be possible that after implementation, you realize that your strategy that you have formulated was actually defective. And that's why it could not be implemented very properly. So your implementation gives you results, and on the basis of results, you get a feedback that can help you to correct any mistakes that you have done in preparation of your strategy. So your strategy can be updated on the basis of feedback that you get by implementing your plans. So that way implementation also helps strategy formulation in a better way. So managers should definitely understand that there is distinction between the strategy formulation and implementation, and the people, the resources, the kind of skills which are required for both these steps are actually different. So strategy, when the strategy is put into action through the process of developing plans. So in order to implement any strategy, first you need to prepare plans. And when you implement that strategy, you get feedback that helps you to assess how your strategy is formulated. And if there are some problems, you can update your strategy and try to elevate or improve your organization performance by making suitable changes in your strategy. So that's why every manager should be responsible for both the steps. Every manager should coordinate each and every activity. He should see how the strategy is formulated, and he should time to time assess the performance of the organization by implementing that strategy. Now we'll talk about various supporting factors which are required for strategy implementation. So it is said that formulation of the strategy, development of the strategy actually requires less time and it is easier steps, whereas lots of time and efforts required when you are implementing the chosen strategy. So it also requires various supporting factors that you should have in place. So the first thing that you need to properly implement your plans are the action planning. Action planning is nothing but developing a detailed action plan. That means you should prepare the list of what all actions you will take in order to implement your strategy. You should actually give a proper details about how you would implement your strategy. Accordingly, you should assign responsibility to various individuals and group working in the organization according to their skills. Give them authority and responsibility so that they can properly implement the task that they are given. You should give them proper due date. You should estimate the resources, different kind of resources that you will require in order to accomplish your objectives, in order to accomplish the actions allotted. So in this steps, what we are doing, we are actually translating our broad strategy into specific work assignment. We are deciding what all tasks are to be done, and then we are allocating these tasks to different people in the organization. Second is your organization structure. So we have different kind of organization structure that we will look in a while. And every strategy requires a different organization structure. So you should see whether your current structure that you are following in the organization is in line with the new strategy that you have chosen. And if there is any difference or if there is any incompatibility between your new strategy and the organization structure that you have in place, your current organization structure, if there is any difference, then you should change your organization structure according to the requirement of your new strategy. Then we have human resource factors. So we know that human skills are very important if you want to implement any strategy. And that's why human resource factors plays an important role in strategy implementation. So any strategist should realize that the human resource planning actually requires two important considerations. So there are two factors that you need to consider when you are planning for human resource. Now, the first factor that we need to consider is that we need to understand the organization communication. See, human resource is an area wherein you are dealing with your live resources. Human resources or your workers, your employees are only the live resource that you have. And because they are human beings, they have feelings and they should be taken as a part of the organization. For that, you need to inform or communicate with your employees time to time. If you forget to communicate any important piece of information to your human resources, they may feel left out, they may feel not to be part of the organization, and that can have a negative impact on their morale. So that you need to consider the organization communication needs. If you are lacking in providing right communication, that you should update. And the second thing you need to understand is that managers should realize that whenever you change any strategy, that has the change on your human resource needs also, because a new strategy may require a different set of skills, and for that you may need to recruit the new employees, or you may need to give training and development to your existing employees. But that thing should be remembered, that new strategy requires new skills, and therefore new human resource needs arise. Then the fourth supporting element talks about annual business plans. And this talks about the funds that we require to implement any strategy. So definitely finance is an important factor without which you cannot implement any strategy. So the organization should think about what amount of finance they would need to implement this strategy. They should think about the sources from which they will accumulate these resources. This, when the company is talking about finance, they are arranging the finance, they are actually confirming or firming up their commitment to their plans. And so whenever you prepare an annual business plan, you are actually linking your plan with your annual business plans. Whenever you are talking about finance, you are linking your strategic plan with your annual business plan. And the final thing that we need in our strategy implementation is monitoring and control. So whenever you implement any strategy, you also need to monitor, you need to check, you need to supervise as to how the things are going on. You need to control. That means you need to check the results with the desired results. And if you find any gap between what you have planned and what you have achieved, you need to take corrective actions. And this will definitely help us to find out our mistakes. We can learn from our mistakes, we can upgrade, we can actually remove all the defects and try to improve our performance on the basis of feedback that we got because of monitoring and control. So though these are the last two, this is a last step of implementation and last step of strategic management process, but still this step is really very important. So again, they are saying is that, formulating a strategic plan is only a half battle, whereas implementing is the another half. And just by implementing, we cannot be very sure as to we have achieved our goals or not. We need to monitor and we need to control as well. So monitoring the implementation is justified on the following grounds. So why monitoring is important? So first, monitoring helps us to ensure that the organization is working in the right direction. All the efforts that the organization members are making is going on in accordance with whatever we have planned. So even if there is any divergence, we can check as to what is the fault, and then we can again put our efforts in the right direction. Monitoring also help the organization to ensure that the results that they have achieved is in accordance with what they have planned in advance. So you can check whether the results that you have achieved is matching with what you have planned in advance. Monitoring also help you to take corrective actions. So if you are not going on the right track, you can take corrective actions and ensure that you come back on the right track. Monitoring is a part of the control process that we know. Monitoring is part of control process and it helps to improve our performance. So as I already told you, even if we are not working according to the desired level, on the basis of the feedback that we get, we can take corrective action and try to improve our performance. So every person learns from our own mistake only, and that way we can upgrade. Monitoring is considered as a link between what you have planned, your written plan, and what you are implementing, your day-to-day operations. So monitoring links your planning and your action. So therefore, we can say that monitoring helps us to demonstrate that everything in the organization is going on according to the plan. And now they're talking about the 3 steps that we can take in order to prepare the functional area goal. So there are different functional area in any organization. It can be production function, it can be marketing, finance, HR, different functions. And when we prepare the goal of any functional area, we need to ensure that the goals of the functional area are in accordance with the goals of the entire organization. And if the goals of the entire organization are changed, the new goals of the functional area should again be in line with the new goals of the entire organization. So that's what they are talking about. Whenever you are setting the goal of the functional area, you should take into consideration the following steps, the 3 steps. So the first thing is that you should check whether the present goal, the current goal of the functional area are in line with the new goals of the entire enterprise, the corporate goal and the business level goal. So you should check whether the current goals that you have set for the functional area are in accordance with the new goals of the entire organization, corporate and business level. And if you find that no, they are not same, the new goals are entirely different and the current goals of functional area are different, then you should decide what should be your new goal, what should be the different goals for each functional area. And after deciding, you should finally set the new goals, which are in line with the overall goals of the organization. So these are the 3 steps. Now we will look at the various issues which are there whenever you are trying to implement any strategy. So the first issue deals with project implementation. So whenever we talk about project, what we mean is that a project is nothing but a kind of a program which is very specific. A project always have a specific deadlines. It always have a specific objective. And all this, the timelines and the objective are decided in advance. And once you have decided the project, you need to arrange various facilities and conditions which will help you to properly implement your project and achieve your objective. Every project passes through different phases, which we will look in detail. Now, the first thing that we need to understand is that the projects are very detailed. So projects talks about everything that which will be needed to implement that project. Whenever you are preparing any project, you need to talk about the infrastructure that you will need, the schedules, what activities would be done, who will do what, when the task should be completed, the budgets that will be required to complete the project. So project is a proper and detailed plan. So whenever you are preparing a project, you should understand that you need to do detailed planning. Now, in the second point, they're talking about that whenever you prepare any strategy, so strategy is not prepared in a second. You come up with variety of the ideas and you select, you generate number of alternatives and you select the best. That could be your strategy. And whenever the organization is doing this brainstorming, whenever they are coming up with the variety of the ideas, some of these ideas would be implemented at present and some of these ideas would work as future projects of the organization. Now, all those projects or all those ideas that have been selected need to be arranged properly in accordance with their priority, because not all projects can be implemented together. So you need to set your priority, and this priority can be decided on the basis of preliminarily analysis of your project. You need to analyze your project according to different angles: technical angle, financial, marketing, economic, and other aspects. You need to check everything regarding the projects. And after screening, only the viable projects are taken up. Feasibility studies are done. We'll see as to whether the project implementation is practically possible. And once you are clear as to certain projects are actually proper to be implemented, you select all those viable projects and then you do detailed engineering of the project. You award the contract to civil and other contractors if you are not handling the project by yourself, then you will give the contract to the outsiders. Usually construction contracts occurs in that way. We'll select number of projects and then we give contract to the expert civil engineers. So that planning is to be done. Then there would be the implementation phase of the project, which will first in the implementation stage, we will do trial. And if the trial run is proper, then we will commission our plant. So if this is a project regarding preparation of a proper factory or a plant, then this is the procedure. You actually do detailed engineering, you give the contract to the various civil engineers, you do trial runs, and if everything is proper, you run the plant on full scale. And when everything is done, the task is completed, you disband the project, you finish off the project. So these are the various steps. The first steps is a general, first point is a general point which talks about that plan. Every project requires detailed planning. Every project requires detailed planning regarding infrastructure, schedules, and budget. And the second point, they're talking about whenever you prepare any strategy, you come up with various ideas, you come up with various alternatives. Some you select, and some of the ideas would work as your future projects. So some of the ideas that we have generated in the process of strategy formulation would act as our future projects. And the third point, they are talking about that once all the projects are identified, which we plan to implement it at present, all those projects will be identified, they will be arranged according to the priority, and this arrangement would be done on the basis of proper analysis. After you have selected some projects on the basis of your analysis, you would award the contract to various outsiders, expert person, or you can handle it by your own also. And once the task is completed, you would try to implement, and that would first begin with the trial run, and if trial is successful, you will commission the plant, and finally you disband in the project. The second point talks about procedural implementation. So we know that government has formulated certain rules, regulations, and procedures which need to be fulfilled by every organization. So any kind of implementation that you are doing should be within the borders of or within the boundary of the laws and regulations prepared by the government. Else you would need to face many legal consequences. So as we know that after the government has opted for LPG norms in 1991, the liberalization, privatization, and globalization, many of the rules and regulations have been relaxed, but still there are certain laws still applicable, such as licensing requirement. So there are certain businesses which cannot be taken up by any person. You require proper license. So this basically deals with dangerous kind of products, maybe firecracker or the other projects, the drugs, medicines. You require proper licensing. There is also FEMA, which is Foreign Exchange Management Act, which deals with the foreign currency. So whenever you do any import-export transaction, you need to fulfill the regulations of FEMA Act. Collaboration. So if you are going with a collaboration, going for amalgamations or merger, you need to comply with the acts applicable, import-export requirement. You need to also consider what are the incentives or benefit given by the government regarding the acts that you are doing, and you should take proper benefit of those benefits. You need to fulfill the labor laws and other regulations. So all procedures that you do should be within the borders of laws prepared by the government. Then you need proper organization structure. See, organization structure is a result of the division of authority and responsibility amongst different people in the organization. So we know that in a very big organization, all the tasks cannot be handled by a single person, and therefore you need to divide, you need to allocate the duties and responsibility among different people. You need to group various tasks. Because of grouping of similar tasks, departments are created. Then you place a proper manager who would be the department head. They have proper staff with proper work allocation. All this results into organization structure. Now, there are many kind of structures that can be adopted by any organization to achieve their mission and objectives. And any structure that you choose should be in accordance with your strategy. So if you have a simple strategy, you can go with simple structure. If you have growth strategy, if your organization plans to grow, you need to go with flexible strategy, flexible structure. And there are certain other complex structures also, such as matrix structure. All these structures we will look in detail in this chapter only. Then you have to talk about resource allocation. So implementation cannot be done without proper resources. Organization need to arrange various kind of resources such as physical resources, machines, and the other infrastructural facilities, human resources. You need to have right quality and right skill employee at the right position. So all these resources need to be arranged, and then these resources are to be allocated to different departments and division according to their requirements. This will help to achieve organizational objectives. Then our functional policies. So I already told you that there are different functional departments in the organization, and these functional departments are very important because they are the one who actually implements the plans prepared at the higher level. So the top management usually prepare various guidelines, and the functional managers have to follow these guidelines while they are preparing their policies of their own functional units. So it is said that when the organization top management prepares any strategy, functional policies should take those changes in the strategies, and they should modify their existing functional policies if they are not in line with the overall organization strategy. Communication. So if you require commitment of each and every level of person in the organization, first you need to communicate to them as to what is to be done. So communication strategy talks about proper communication of vision, objectives, the market scope, the technology, and all the issues which are important for smooth implementation of strategy. This communication is to be done at different levels in the organization. You should ensure that the right information is reached to the right person at the right time. So that way you need to communicate. Also, your communication should be very clear. It should leave no scope for confusion in the mind of your employees. Leadership. Leadership talks about having an appropriate leader who can guide the successful strategy implementation. Whenever you're trying to implement any strategy, you may come up with various issues, various problems that can hamper the smooth implementation. And leader is always a key factor which can help in developing the right culture and climate and resolving the various issues that come in the way of smooth implementation. Challenges to change. So we know that change is something which is permanent. There is no thing which is as permanent as change. So strategy implementation also involves various changes. When you want to implement a new strategy, you need to make certain changes at the implementation level. You may need to change maybe your organization structure. You may need to introduce new staff. You may need to retrench the existing staff. You may need to change various policies. So there are variety of the changes which can be minor or major. And there are 3 steps in which you can take this change, or you can make this change in a very smooth manner. Now, these 3 steps of change are freezing, moving, and refreezing. Please remember the 3 steps. And these steps are given by Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin is an author who gave these 3 steps. Now, freezing is so the first step is actually unfreezing. It's not freezing, it is unfreezing. The first step is unfreezing. The second step is moving, and the third stage is refreezing. Please remember. So in the unfreezing stage, what you do is you prepare your employees regarding the change that you plan to bring. Your employees should be well aware of about the changes that will come in future. Change should not come as shock to them. You should properly communicate with your employees. You should bring to their notice what all changes you are planning to bring. You should resolve their problems if they are facing any doubts or queries in their mind as to the future changes. If they are having any fear in their mind, you should try to talk to them and remove all those fear and prepare them. So unfreezing is the stage where you prepare your employees regarding the future changes. Then comes moving. When your employees are fully prepared about the changes which are to come, you should now bring those changes. You should actually implement all those changes. So moving is nothing but an action stage where you actually put into practice all the change. You may change the organization structure, you may change the policies, the principles, maybe the objectives itself. And the third stage is refreezing. Now, refreezing is a stage when you try to make sure that your employees have fully accepted the changes that you have introduced in the moving stage. There is no employee who is, still following the old ways of working. If you see any employee is doing that, you should make him correct his ways So rephrasing is all about ensuring that the new ways of working are adopted by each and every person and is followed in future too. And final issue in implementation is pre-implementation evaluation strategy. So herein they are saying is that before you implement any decided strategy, you should do a final scrutiny. You should do a final check so as to ensure that your strategy is perfect. It is perfect according to the environment that the organization is facing. This final scrutiny is done in order to avoid any failure and weakness. So if you check once again, you may come to know about certain issues that were left to be considered before. So this gives you one more chance to check whether your strategy is good, is optimum, and it will help you to achieve your objectives. So pre-implementation evaluation strategy. So these are all the issues. I hope you understood. Now let us quickly look at our next topic, which is McKinsey 7S framework. Now McKinsey 7S framework is basically a management model which is widely used by the managers, and it talks about the different factors, the 7 factors which describe the organization in a complete and holistic way. So whenever the organization is faced with any problem, according to McKinsey, you should analyze these 7 factors. If these 7 factors are working properly, the organization will definitely achieve the success. And if there is problem in any of these 7 factors, you should diagnose that problem, you should find out that problem, and you should try to change. And we should also understand that these 7 factors are completely interrelated. So if you change any one factor, the impact would be seen in the other factor as well, and that need to be modified too. So what are these 7S? 7S is basically these 7 factors, and these 7 factors are again divided into 2 factors, 2 broad categories, hard S and soft S. So hard S are basically these 3: strategy, structure, and system are considered as hard S. They are considered as hard S because these 3 factors can be easily seen in any organization. You can identify these 3 S very easily, and these 3 S can be changed and managed easily by the managers. Whereas if we talk about 4 soft S, so the 4 soft S are basically these 4 elements: shared values, skills, staff, and style. And if we talk about these 4 S, these are soft S. And why they are soft S? Because these things cannot be seen very easily, and it is also very difficult to change these 4 S. So you should remember the hard S and soft S. Hard S are 3 and soft S are 4. And the difference between them two is on the basis of how tangible they are, and whether it can be modified very easily or not. Now we'll quickly look at the 7S one by one. The first is strategy. We already know what is strategy. Strategy is prepared by any organization to achieve the goal, and that's why they are means to end. The strategy prepared by the organization decides the path, the direction of the organization. It describes what path the organization will move in long run. Strategy describes the action that the organization will take in future. Strategy is often prepared to deal with the hostile external environment. So whenever there is change in the environment, you need to change your strategy in order to give proper response to this strategy. Strategy is prepared for the future, and therefore you have to anticipate your environment. You have to see what all changes are going to occur in your future environment, and accordingly you have to prepare your future strategy. Now, strategy includes the purpose, mission, objectives, goals, and all these have been discussed in detail in our previous chapter. Strategy helps to achieve an edge over our competitors. So we prepare our strategy with an intention of adapting our environment and also to defeat our rivals and attain a better position in the market. The second S is structure. Now, structure is nothing but the organization structure, the way we divide the authority and responsibility amongst various people, units, department in the organization. Now here the structure we are talking about is a formal structure, the formal structure which is designed by the management, and this structure is usually durable and it does not change very frequently. Now organization structure performs the following function. by framing the organization structure, you are basically dividing the authority and responsibility amongst various department divisions. And so you are taking benefit of division of labor, division of authority. Now, because of proper division of authority, it ensures that every people in the organization are working in coordination. Everybody knows what is to be done by whom, and therefore each and every one is doing their task in a proper manner. They ensure that there is proper coordination. And we can also control the activities because we know as to who is responsible for what. So we can monitor the activities of persons in the organization as to whether they are working according to the decided task or not. And if everyone in the organization works in coordination and according to the plan, definitely this will help the organization to realize the vision, mission, goals, and objectives. Proper organization structure reduces uncertainty or the ambiguity in the minds of your staff. Everyone is clear as to what is to be done by whom, and therefore the uncertainty is reduced. The organization structure is usually decided by making proper prediction of future as to what kind of environment the organization will face in future and what kind of changes the organization environment will have. And after those predictions, we design a proper structure that can help us to fulfill our future goals and objectives. Then we talk about our third S, which is system. Now, system is nothing but the routine procedures, process, the rules, regulations, which are followed by every person in the organization. And these systems are usually decided by the top management. And they have system for every activity in the organization. They have planning system, the way they plan, decision-making system, communication system. These systems differ from organization to organization. Now, we also have other systems which talks about the production system, planning system, control system, budget system, finance and accounting system, training development system, performance evaluation system. And these systems are nothing but, as I already told you, they are the formal rules and regulations, procedures which are to be followed by everyone. These systems can be formal, which are decided by the management, and these can be informal also, which are decided by the colleagues or friends between themselves. Now, whenever you change any strategy, you need to change your systems as well, because systems are nothing but the methods which make it much easier for us to implement our strategy. Style is nothing but the way your top management behaves, the leadership style, the way they deal with the problem, the way they look at the problem, the way they communicate with the other managers in the hierarchy. The managerial style does not remain same, but it changes over the period of time. It also changes according to the situation. And the style that the managers follows can be different. We have autocratic style, wherein the top management controls everything, and the bottom level management are just there for implementation, and they have no role in decision making. We also have democratic leadership or managerial style, wherein the top management delegates the authority and responsibility to the people in the organization and act as a guide. So we have different styles, and this style this style is a factor which is very visible, and you can get to know about the style of the management by looking at the relation between the various levels of the management as to how they talk to each other, how they behave. We can also look at organization culture and get a glimpse about the managerial style. The style also reflects the value system or the beliefs of the top management. Staff is nothing but the human resource, and there are different kind of people, the different kind of staff that work in the organization. There are specialists or professionals which have the expertise in a certain area. We have engineers, and we have also specialists in different areas such as finance, personnel, legal. So staffing is nothing but a process in which you recruit or attract the right candidate to your organization. You go through the selecting procedure where you select the best person for the right job. You train and develop them in order to sharpen their skills. You place them in the right post so that they are able to do the work according to the skills they have and reach to their potential. Now in 7S, staffing is described as a process in which the organization attract the young people in the organization and give them certain activities to do. and help them to manage their future careers, turn them into future managers. Skills are nothing but the individual capabilities. Skills is the ability or proficiency which with you do a particular task. Skills of different persons are different. Now, skills cannot be sharpened in a day. It requires a long period of time. When you do a particular task on a repeated basis, your ability to do that task definitely sharpen. Your skills depends upon number of other factors also. One of them is, how frequently you do that activity, how well you do that activity. It also depends upon the kind of the people in your organization, the kind of the environment in the organization, the way the top management behaves, whether they are encouraging or they are discouraging the staff, the structure in the organization, whether it is flexible or whether it is tightly fitted, wherein the top management decides everything. And there are other external influences also. Now, the organization skills and capabilities are also the source of competitive advantage. Shared values, which are also known as superordinate goals. Shared values are the hidden factors which are held deeply. These are the values which are held deeply by every person in the organization. And these values may not be written in a proper manner somewhere, but you can these are those values which are believed by the persons in the organization. They trust these values when taking any decision. And also, these values can be written in the form of vision, mission, values, and philosophy to show this to the other stakeholders of the organization. So values are nothing but the set of aspirations, desires, moral values, which actually go beyond the conventional formal statement. So these are something which cannot be described, but which are understood by each and every person in the organization. These are those things which inspire the member of the organization to work in the direction of the organizational goal. So what are the benefit of the McKinsey 7S framework model? Now, the first benefit is that this tool help us to identify which organization is effective and which organization is non-effective. So if you go through the 7S of any organization, and if you find that any of these S is not working properly, that means the organization will be non-effective. So for the effective working, you need to ensure that all the 7S are working in a proper manner, in a coordinated manner. This helps to change the organization. So whenever there is need of change in the organization, you need to ensure that all the 7 factors need to be changed in a simultaneous manner because they impact each other. So it combines the rational and hard elements with the emotional and soft elements. So we very well know that there are 3 S which are considered as hard, and we have 4 S which are considered as emotional or soft S. Okay. And then we have the last point is that managers must act on all S in parallel as they are interrelated. So all the S are interrelated. So manager, if they are changing one S, they should change the other S as well. So this was all about McKinsey 7S. Please remember the 7S, the hard S, the soft S, and just read once the content. Now our next answer talks about activating the strategy. Activating the strategy is nothing but stimulating the activity, taking initiative, initiating any activity so as to implement. So you have to initiate the activity, you have to take the action in order to successfully implement your strategy. Because see, activation is important, initiation is important, because whenever you are formulating the strategy, formulation of strategy requires only few number of persons. Whereas when you are implementing the strategy, you require large number of persons at each and every level in the organization. Activation involves following steps. Now, the first activity of activation is institutionalization of strategy. So, institutionalization of a strategy is again the responsibility of strategist. The successful implementation of strategy requires that the manager properly act as the promoter and the defender of the strategy that he have formulated. He should see to it that everyone in the organization has accepted the strategy, have understood the strategy as well. So there are two elements which talks about institutionalization. With this, we will understand what institutionalization means. Institutionalization means strategy, communication, and acceptance. So first of all, the managers need to properly communicate whatever strategy they have made, whatever decisions they are taking. So they have to communicate the fundamental, analytical, and entrepreneurial decisions regarding the strategy to all the members in the organization. You have to explain those decisions to the members so as to bring their support. So this is important. If you are communicating to your staff, then and then only they'll be ready to give you their support. They'll accept that strategy once they are properly communicated about what is going on in the organization. Now, you can communicate with your staff orally through interaction, or you can do it on written basis. So when the organization is large, oral communication may not be feasible. And so the management may formulate a well documented written thing, and that may be the way of properly communicating the decisions and changes in the organization. Strategy acceptance. So it is important that the organization members accept the strategy. If they accept it, they'll develop a positive attitude and they'll put their heart and soul into implementation. So to ensure the commitment of the employees, strategy should be accepted by them. It should not be imposed upon them. It should not be forced upon them. A proper feeling, a good feeling regarding the acceptance should be there in the mind, that will ensure effective implementation. Then you have to formulate the action plans and programs. So action plans, we already talked about. They are basically the plans which details as to what actions you will take in order to implement your strategy. It talks about the resources that are to be allocated to different activities, who will do what, when. So all that detail plan that you make in order to implement the strategy is nothing but your action plan. So whenever you undertake any activity, supposingly you are developing a new plant or you are developing a new product, you can develop an action plan which will detail everything, all the steps which will go on in completing that project. So action plans depends upon what strategy you have, what strategy you want to implement. For different strategy, different action plan is formulated. Now, program is a kind of a plan which is single use. So whenever you are going for a one-time activity which is not to be repeated frequently, the plan that you develop in order to implement that activity is nothing but a program. So program is nothing but a single use plan. So because it is a plan, it also gives us complete details about the activities which we will do. It describes the major steps that or the actions that we will take. It gives the order and the timing of various actions, the responsibility of the actions, who will do what. So that is, see, action plans and programs are basically same, but action plans can be used for repeated activities, whereas program is used for one-time activity, and therefore it is a single-use plan. Just remember this line, program is a single-use plan. This is important, right? So whenever you make any program, you also decide about how would you arrange the required capital in order to implement that program. Program is therefore supported by capital and operating budgets. Then we talk about translating the general objective into specific objective. So sometimes top management frames a certain objective which are too general and intangible and cannot be properly understood by everyone in the organization. So it is for the managers to translate these general objective into very specific objective, which clearly talks about the activities or the objectives, which clearly talks about the objective that are or the activities that are to be taken in order to achieve the overall growth of the organization. So as the name suggests, specific objective are very, very specific, and they detail what are the objective and in what time you will achieve that objective. So the specific objective should fulfill following criteria. They should be tangible. They should be meaningful. Tangible means that they should be measured. They should be in numbers. Quantitative, right? They should be quantitative. They should be meaningful. They should be understood by each and everyone. They should be easily measurable. And they should contribute to the achievement of general objectives set by top level management. So specific objective brings clarity to the people in the organization as to what is to be exactly done. Now we talk about the last point, which is resource mobilization and allocation. So as we know that strategy cannot be implemented without proper resources such as financial, human resource and physical resources. So mobilization is nothing but procurement of all these resources. So when you procure the necessary resources to smoothly implement your strategy, that action is known as mobilization. Now, what amount of resources will you need to mobilize depend upon the nature and the type of strategy that you need to implement. Now, the organization capacity of resource mobilization is different. So if the organization is new to the market, or if the organization has previously taken finance from the market and they have defaulted, then next time they would face difficulty in obtaining finance. So a new organization or an organization that has bad name faces difficulty in resource mobilization. So that reduces their capacity to borrow. So organization capacity to borrow, capacity to mobilize the resources has inverse relationship with the strategy. Just underline this line. This may come in your MCQ. Organization capacity to mobilize resources has what kind of relationship? Inverse relationship with your strategy. Now they say that the strategy that you have decided will decide what kind of resources you require. So definitely the resources that you need to mobilize depend upon the strategy that you need to implement. Also, they say that your resource mobilization capacity may limit the kind of strategy that you choose. So the organization definitely sees to it as to what amount of resources they can mobilize. And on the basis of that, they decide the strategy. Because if you decide a particular strategy for which you cannot mobilize enough resources, that strategy would remain on paper only. So that this is important that you look at your resource mobilization capacity before deciding any strategy. Now, resources are not necessarily to be owned. You can own those resources or you can take it on lease or rent if you are not in position to buy those resources. Now, once the resources are mobilized, you also need to allocate or give those resources to different departments so that they can fulfill their goals. So different kind of resources such as physical resources, financial, human resources are to be allocated to different departments and units. Now, resource allocation actually implies that the organization is committed to achieving the project that they have. And this also brings the organization to risk, because once they have committed the resources, they take this risk to undertake that activity successfully in order to recover the cost of the resources that they have purchased. Now, there are some problems that any organization encounter while they are taking resource allocation decision. Now, the three problems include power play, commitment to past, and resistance to change. Now, power play means that different departments in the organization want to have large share of resources at their disposal. Now, this is because of two things. First of all, the department managers feel very strong compared to the other department if they have larger resources at their disposal. And secondly, if the organizational department have more resources, then they can definitely this can definitely add flexibility in their operation. They can take many decisions, because if they have surplus resources, they do not face constraint while taking their decisions. And also this helps them to hide their inefficiency. Commitment to past means that mostly it is seen that the organization follows the same patterns of resource allocation as they have done in their past. It may be that the previous type of resource allocation was not good enough, but still the organizational managers are actually reluctant to change the pattern in which the resources were allocated in past, and so the organization continue to follow the same pattern. And this may be hurdle in the optimum utilization of resources. The managers of various departments definitely do not feel good whenever there is change in the pattern, because this may mean that the organizational resources may be transferred from their department to some other department. Resistance to change. This is somewhat related to your second point, is that organization, because of their commitment to past, are resistant to change. Even if they know that the particular department or the particular product is a loser, but still they'll continue to allocate the resource to that particular department following the past pattern. And this is because of their false ideology. They think that all the past decisions are good, because that was taken by them. Also, the organization, because of their false prestige and sentiment, they allocate more and more resources. They allocate the best manager to the falling product. That may be because they want to capitalize on their past glory, and this definitely result into less than optimum decision and wastage of larger resources of the organization. So the organization may have few profitable opportunities on their hand, but they will still allocate the resources to that loser department or a product because of their false ideologies and because of their sentiments. So this was about activation of strategy. A very simple answer, just give it a small read.